Before you head out into the crowds or spend money you don't need to, just stop. Your pantry is already full of beautiful, heartfelt gifts waiting to be made, and today I'm going to show you 3 cozy Christmas gifts that you can craft with what you already have at home. Simple, old-fashioned, and perfect for last-minute gifting. Let's start with a really simple gift, chai-infused shortbread. This one surprises people because it doesn't use any sugar at all, of course, because I have a sugar allergy. But we can make it just as tasty when it's lightly sweetened with maple syrup, and you can make it in almost any flavor that you love. Today I'm using some of our herbal chai and grinding it straight from the dried herb. As soon as you crush it, the smell hits you. Warm, spicy, a little earthy. It's the coziest thing, and the flecks of tea in the dough make these cookies look so old-fashioned and homemade. Shortbread is one of those recipes that keeps everything uncomplicated. A few ingredients, a bowl, a few quiet minutes at the counter. The dough comes together soft and buttery, and the maple syrup gives it this gentle sweetness that feels really natural and not overly sugary. You can flavor these however you want: chai, peppermint, lavender, Earl Grey, even one of our lemon blends, whatever is in your tea drawer that you have that you think will taste great. That's what makes them such a great pantry gift. We can use what we have on hand. I like to roll the dough and cut a few shapes, but honestly, even simple rounds look beautiful. And while they bake, the house fills with this soft chai aroma that feels like you've been simmering something on the stove all afternoon. This mixer is a 24-year-old kitchen mixer that the farmer gifted me the first year that we were married. And it has a few little problems, like the switch won't turn off, but we'll make it work. It might have to hold it here. I do love this little mixer. It's so very handy, and he upgraded me to a bigger mixer. We have a bigger family now. We make a lot of bread. And it's pretty handy. I don't know how I ever made enough bread in this tiny little one, but I do miss this one, not just because of the story, but also because it's handier for some smaller batches, and not everything is a large batch around here. When I grind my spices, I have a coffee grinder that I reserve just for my spices. It helps keep that coffee flavor out, and it works pretty well. I have this tiny little tea strainer I use to sift out any big chunks that I don't want to surprise anybody with in my cookies. You can use any strainer to do this, and you may not even need it depending on which teas and spices and herbs you're using. Once they cool, just wrap them in a little parchment, tie a bit of twine, maybe snip a piece of greenery from outside, whatever it is you have around to wrap them up. This is where you can really get creative with them and really use anything that you have on hand. It doesn't take much for them to feel like a really heartfelt Christmas gift, the kind that looks special even if it came from everyday ingredients. I also love to dip these in chocolate, but I didn't have time today. But I'm sure if you have chocolate chips hanging around, you can melt some of those and dip these in there, and it will make them look even fancier. If you want the full recipe and the maple measurements, everything's over on the blog. I'll leave the link down below. And then it's time to clean up a little bit, and my tiny helper is waiting just around the corner because she loves to clean off the dough whisk. And no worries, there's no eggs in these cookies, so this is totally safe, and it just makes her day. Next up on the list is some instant chai mix. You can see chai as a theme here. I love chai this time of year. It's my absolute must-have in cold weather. And whether that's in cookies or in my cup, we're going to work on both those here today. So next up on the list is this chai spice mix, and this one's going to have some sugar in it because we're making a gift, and maple syrup would not sit in the jar very well. And so first up, I'm going to grind some more spices. You can see my spice grinder gets a workout here. I didn't have all of my spices in a powder form. I try not to keep them that way actually, unless I use them really frequently, because the more surface space that is exposed to the shorter amount of time you have to use them, they will start losing their potency, and they also start losing their medicinal qualities. And while we aren't talking about that necessarily in this video, it's an important part. But the other thing you'll notice when you grind your spices fresh is how much more smell they have, and that is just a testament to keeping them whole as long as possible versus the ones you get at the store already ground in the little containers that have been sitting there forever. They hardly have any scent to them. They are so old, and these are the freshest of fresh. Now it's time to layer the parts in our jar that we're going to gift. This is a rather large jar. It looked small on the shelf at Hobby Lobby, and then I went to use it, and it's gonna take a lot to fill this. So somebody's gonna be really happy for a long time with their instant chai spice mix. I might recommend a little bit smaller of a canning jar, maybe a half pint, something small like that. And then you can stick some extra things with it in a little basket. So we're just going to layer our spices in here one at a time. I'm trying to find the best way to get it even in this jar so that it doesn't just pile up in the middle. If you have a wide mouth jar, or even if you had the smaller half pint jar, it would be easier to get these in there. This jar is proving to be a little fun. But the idea is that we're going to layer the sugar with the spices, and then they can shake it up and go to use it that way. And then it gives it some different colors. We've got browns and light browns, dark browns, and the light color of the ginger, all those fragrant spices that we just blended up. These jars make the sweetest little neighbor gifts, teacher gifts, and stocking stuffers. Really anything. I mean, teens are going to love them. It's going to save them a bunch of money at that drive-through coffee shop. And the best part is you can make several of them at once without even making a dent in your pantry, and you can use what you have. So maybe you don't have all of these spices I'm using here today, or your coffee grinder bit the dust, or you just don't have one. You can come up with a spice blend that'll make a fabulous drink. You don't need too many different things. I mean, most of us have pumpkin spice, right? And who doesn't love a pumpkin spice latte? It feels good to create something warm and homemade without spending money that you didn't need to spend. If you want the exact spice blend and the proportions that I used, everything's written out in the blog post, and I'll leave that link below, and I'll also try and put it up here in a card. But truly, this part of the process is the fun of it, just taking everyday ingredients and turning them into something cozy that you can share. Now that I've got my milk steamed, I'm going to use a handheld whisk. Now these are powdered herbs, kind of like making hot cocoa, right? This isn't an infused tea. And so we're going to use this whisk to force the particles inside the warm milk, top it off with a little foam, and it's ready to drink. But y'all, you know what? There's sugar in here. And so I am going to have a taste tester. And we also use dairy, which the farmer doesn't drink dairy. Doesn't it look tasty though? I wish I could drink that. It looks so yummy. And so my taste tester is going to be, it's not a face that you see very often, over here. Here he comes. This is the tea blender. He blends all of the tea at Farmhouse Teas. It's his full-time job. And he is going to let me know how it tastes. He really likes that. It's not often he gets a treat like this. So with the rest of the jar, we're going to go ahead and pretty it up so that we can gift it to someone who will enjoy using it this holiday season. I always collect ribbon and twine and all sorts of packaging things to have on hand for an occasion such as this. Next up on the list is getting our cookies on the cookie sheet. They have fully chilled in the refrigerator, and now we're going to get them here on this baking tray. I'm just going to cut them into rounds. You could use cookie cutters, you could put them in bars. This is the quickest, simplest way, and they will taste just fabulous. You can see how nice and buttery they are. These cookies are headed off to the oven where they will bake. And in the meantime, we will head back to the harvest kitchen, and the farmer's going to join me and read my recipe for me and maybe help me. He's so funny. Don't you all love him? I do. And so we're just going to measure some ingredients into a jar. It's another jar gift. We're homesteaders here. We have jars everywhere. And this time around, it's an oatmeal cookie mix, and this one's fun. It's got lots of interesting layers, and it's so simple. You can see I'm just dumping the stuff in here, and the farmer's letting me know which comes next. The trick is getting it evenly in the jar, and if you pour kind of along the edges, I don't have him helping like that. Pour along the edges, you can kind of get the outside to look even. We're not too worried about the middle. This jar is going to get dumped right in the mixing bowl with a few other ingredients added by the gift receiver. Oh, he decided to be a gentleman. Oh, great. Spoon. Okay. It's a little tiny bit of salt, so I really need a spoon for that. Next up is the chocolate chips, because, oatmeal cookies without chocolate chips, that would just be sad. He had to test a few of those. If you see him chewing, that's what he's doing. So it's a, date night with your husband. Like, just hang out in the kitchen and fill jars for every friend and near relative and post office worker. You can see how simple this is. This is my favorite kind of thing to make. This is why I blend tea, y'all, because it's not complicated in terms of the mixing part once you have the recipe to follow. And we're leaving these nuts unchopped in here because we want it to look extra fun. I'll put on their recipe card on the jar to make sure and cut those up, because you probably don't want a whole nut in your cookie, but it sure looks a lot prettier. So we're going to tie one of those bows. I've got one of my favorite bamboo lids on this jar. I just love these things. I keep plenty of extra around. And this is ready to gift. Just tie on a tag with the rest of the ingredients and you are good to go. The farmer is bringing up the cookies that are now done and out of the oven, and we're going to go ahead and plate those up here. You could dip these in chocolate. They'll look even more exciting and they'll taste really, really good. But for simplicity's sake, we're just going to top with a tiny bit of cinnamon to give them a little extra flair. You could also do like a drizzle, frosting drizzle, whatever your heart desires. But there you have 3 pantry gifts that you can give for Christmas without having to buy anything else, and it looks fabulous, and anybody will appreciate these yummy, tasty things. Make sure you grab the recipe below, and I will catch you next time.